The last message in our sermon series, the Songs of Ascent, was about 6 Sundays ago. So you may be wondering what has happened, but it is what life is. Interruptions. Even the best laid plans sometimes can go astray. But we are resuming with our Songs of Ascent series, and just a reminder: the Songs of Ascent. Songs, a collection of 15 songs found in Psalm 120 to 134, sung by pilgrims as they make their way to Jerusalem to worship at the temple 3 times a year. Now, what's significant about these songs of ascent is this: it is a reminder to them, and it's a reminder to us, that our spiritual life is a pilgrimage. We are on the way. And they remind themselves that they are on their way to God. And along the way, they need songs to encourage them, songs to remind them of foundational truths. It's a journey undertaken not alone, but with fellow pilgrims. And so we are reminded that we need one another. And today we look at Psalm 127. It's a very familiar psalm, and I'm sure you have heard a lot of messages from this psalm. And I don't know if I'm able to bring any fresh revelation to you, but let us allow the Holy Spirit to work. And the title of my sermon is Built to Last. Built to Last. I'm going to ask my daughter to come and read for us Psalm 127. Can you all see? Yeah, okay. Come, Emmeline.
Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for He grants sleep to those He loves. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court.
Okay, thank you, Emmeline. I'm going to read in Bahasa as well, okay? For the sake of Pak Markus and Mama Julia, okay? Hari ini khutbah dari Mazmur 127, bermula dengan ayat 1. Jikalau bukan Tuhan yang membangun rumah, sia-sialah usaha orang yang membangunnya. Jikalau bukan Tuhan yang mengawal kota, sia-sialah pengawal berjaga-jaga. Sia-sialah kamu bangun pagi-pagi dan duduk-duduk sampai jauh malam, dan makan roti yang diperoleh dengan susah payah, sebab Ia memberikannya kepada yang dicintainya pada waktu tidur. Sesungguhnya anak-anak lelaki adalah milik pusaka daripada Tuhan, dan buah kandungan adalah suatu upah, seperti anak-anak panah di tangan pahlawan. Demikianlah anak-anak yang masa muda. Berbahagialah orang yang telah membuat penuh tabung panahnya dengan semuanya itu. Ia tidak akan mendapat malu apabila ia berbicara dengan musuh-musuh di pintu gerbang. Shall I continue in Bahasa? Yes. No, okay. In 2 Sundays, we will have a Bahasa service, okay? Pastor Douglesa and Ibu Loli will be preaching, and I will be doing my best to interpret, okay? After losing 2 of his ships on the Eddystone Rocks near Plymouth in the English Channel, Henry Winston Lee demanded to know why nothing had been done to protect vessels from this hazard. When told that the reef was too treacherous to mark, he declared that he would build a lighthouse there himself. And so with the support of ships and men from the British Admiralty, he started construction on the 14th of July, 1696, and the first Eddystone Lighthouse was completed in 1698. That's the lighthouse. Winston Lee was recorded as having expressed great faith in his construction, going so far as to wish that he might be inside the lighthouse he built during the greatest storm that ever was. It was also said that he was so confident that he had written on the cornerstone of the lighthouse these words: "Blow, O ye winds, rise, ocean waves, break forth, ye elements, and try my work." You know what they say? Be careful what you wish for. On the night of 27 November 1703, during what came to be known as the Great Storm, the tower was entirely destroyed. And Winston Lee, who was visiting the lighthouse that night to make repairs, lost his life. And his body was never found. Be careful what you wish for. Do not be presumptuous. Winston Lee's words turned out to be foolish words. He thought that he had built an indestructible lighthouse, one that had been built to last. But he was seriously mistaken. His so-called indestructible lighthouse lasted no more than 5 years. Henry Winston Lee had built in vain. You know, my brothers and sisters, we are all builders. And that's the message of Solomon, who wrote Psalm 127. We are all builders, and we will see how we are all builders as we go through this Song of Ascent. As we glean insights from Solomon, and we all know Solomon was a prolific builder who had undertaken a great many projects in his lifetime. So let us, as we learn from Solomon, glean insights to ensure that we do not build in vain. And this is what Solomon says: unless the Lord builds, the house, the builders labor in vain. Now I want us to take a close look at this word house. You know, the word house in Hebrew, this word appears nearly 1,000 times in the Bible. And it has a literal meaning as well as a figurative meaning. Literally, when the word house is used, it is used to refer to houses, as well as temples and palaces, physical buildings. But figuratively, this word house refers to households and families. You see now how it applies to all of us? The word household and families are important structures in a person's life. So the word house represents not only a dwelling place, a physical dwelling place, but very importantly also one's sense of self-identity, security, and place in this world. Because as young people, we build our careers. We build a legacy for ourselves. And Solomon is saying that we cannot reasonably hope and expect to build a fulfilling, truly successful life without God's help, without God's guidance and protection over our house. And Solomon knows what he's talking about. What did he build? He built the temple for God, right? He also built a palace for himself. 1 Kings 7, you read, the name of his palace is the Palace of the Forest of Lebanon. He took 7 years to build the temple, 13 years to build his palace. And in verse 1, and those who do English, is that right? Topic sentence, right? First sentence, very important. The topic sentence is this. The key to success in any human endeavor, anything undertaken, is this: the Lord must be in it. The Lord must be in it. And I want you to pause now. As you're building your family, is the Lord in it? As you're building your career, is the Lord in it? As you strive to build a name for yourself, is the Lord in it? In any activity, we need the Lord to be in it. We need the Lord's favor. We need His blessings. If not, all of our accomplishments, all of our accolades will be for nothing. Bahasa cakap kosong, jadi habuk, sia-sia. So Solomon says, you can labor, you can work, but it is the Lord who gives success. And so Solomon, of course, knows what he's saying. And actually, if we want to understand Psalm 127, you need to read Ecclesiastes chapter 2. You need to. Because Ecclesiastes 2 provides important information, background information that helps us to truly appreciate this principle, this success principle that Solomon is trying to teach. What did Solomon do? He undertook great projects. He built houses, planted vineyards, made gardens and parks, planted all kinds of fruit trees. He made reservoirs. He became greater, verse 9, by far than anyone in Jerusalem before him. Far greater. He built self-identity. He built security. He made sure that he has made his mark and secured his place in the world. He did all that. And he enjoyed all that he had done. But then, all in vain, okay? Verse 11, he tells us, did I switch it off? Okay, all right, now it's here. Okay. He said, yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, NKJV says, when I looked on all the works that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was, what did he say? Meaningless. A chasing after the wind, nothing was gained under the sun. We can make two observations from verse 10. Ecclesiastes 10, the second part. Solomon said, my heart took delight. Sure, you build houses, you build palaces, you undertake great projects, and after you are successful, very nice feeling. Shock. There was the initial rush of delight, of thrill, of euphoria. But then the very next verse, he says, meaningless. Initial rush of excitement leading to an anticlimax. Vanity grasping for the wind. And seriously, my brothers and sisters, this is what a lot of people have found out. Let me share with you the story of this man. You know, this was shared by Asha with our CG. Have you heard his story? No, huh? Dr. Richard Teo King Siang. Okay. Born 1972, passed on 2012. He lived for 40 years. And he shared his thoughts before he died. He shared his thoughts on life, wealth, success, and happiness. We are all interested, right? We are all very interested in wealth, success, happiness. We are all interested, okay? I'm also interested. And in an article which appeared on, so small, cannot see also, www.asia.one.com, entitled Late Millionaire Surgeon's Last Words on Money, Ferraris, and True Joy. These are words from the grave. You want to know what he said? You got no choice. You've got to listen to me. Like most, if not all young people starting their career, he worked hard at his career to be successful. I was told, "Xiao Len ai pia." Those who don't understand, when you're young, you must really have the drive. Ai pia. Pia. Anyone doing that? Tua pia. And so he said this, "I'm a typical product of today's society. From young, I've always been under the influence and impression that to be happy is to be successful. And to be successful is to be wealthy. So, I live my life according to this motto." Doctor, I think he started off as a ophthalmologist, I think, or ear, he's an ear specialist. Then he discovered to be an ear specialist cannot become rich quickly. So he went into cosmetic surgery. I mean, he made this remark. Many people complain, go and see the general practitioner, pay 30 ringgit, complain, very expensive. But they would pay thousands of dollars to have a mole removed or whatever, you know. So he had a thriving cosmetic surgery clinic which made millions in the first year of operation. He lived a high society life. Rubbed shoulders with celebrities like Miss Singapore Universe, Rachel Kam. Josephine, you know her? Don't know. I thought you rub shoulders with people like her. And Facebook co-founder Eduardo Saverin. He loved life in the fast lane. Why not? Owned several fast cars. Honda S2000, Subaru WRX. We need to upgrade our Forester. Nissan GTR, Ferrari 430. In the end, they meant nothing to him. In a talk to dental students, when he knew he was dying, he wanted to share this with as many people as possible. So in a talk to dental students, he said this, during Chinese New Year, I would drive my Ferrari, show off to my relatives, show off to my friends, do my rounds. And then you thought, that is true joy? He said, I found no joy whatsoever in whatever objects I had. My Ferrari, my successful business, the land I was going to buy to build my bungalow. He had come to the same conclusion as Solomon. Everything is meaningless. You know, my brothers and sisters, Solomon is saying, if we have built in vain, it is not because of the lack of hard work or diligence. It is not that. Because in Ecclesiastes verse 2, Psalm 1 to 7, verse 2, in vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat. Rise up early, hit the road before everybody, and then stay up late. Work, 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 work. And it is not because of the lack of intelligence and knowledge. Solomon had wisdom. And to be a doctor in Singapore, you really, really have got the brains. So we ask ourselves this question. Are you chasing the wind? People before Solomon, they had chased the wind. After Solomon, still chasing the wind. Today, tomorrow, the next generation, they can find themselves chasing the wind. Why must the Lord be directly involved? Solomon says, you can build. You can build. But it is the Lord who gives success. You remember that? My son is not here, Joel, knocked out. Son, are you listening? If you're listening, please pay attention. Josiah, you're not too young to pay attention. Emmeline, please pay attention. In the 30 sayings of the wise in Proverbs 24, Solomon said, through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. I think these two verses must be preached at every wedding ceremony. Very important. You need wisdom, you need understanding, you need knowledge. The Lord must be directly involved in the work of building because He is the master architect. Only He has the blueprint of true success, of true fulfillment. And the most valuable building material is wisdom. That's the most important resource. And Jesus says in Matthew 7, the man who foolishly leaves out the house when building is set for failure, for disaster. And the rains came down and the floods came up. And the rain came down and the floods came up. Sunday school song, And what happened to the house? Came crashing down. My brothers and sisters, please listen. Don't come to this tragic ending when you're 50, 55 years old and you find your whole life collapsing. Because when you were building, you didn't even consider the Lord. Okay, Dr. Thomas, I'm watching the time, okay? Solomon says, unless the Lord builds. He also says another thing, unless the Lord watches. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. That's the second part of verse 1. And after construction, okay, comes conservation. Once the building is completed, whatever you're building, watching over, guarding what has been built, accomplished, becomes a priority. You are now preoccupied with security. Note, the house has now become a city, It is an indication of increase and of success. And brothers and sisters, many times after working so hard to be successful, accumulating wealth and riches, there is still this fear that we will lose everything. We worry we will lose everything. So we become fretful and we cannot sleep. Cannot sleep. And how do we ensure security? So we set watchmen, we set guards over our city. We protect our house, we protect whatever we have accomplished. We fireproof, burglar-proof, and whatever we have, so that we do not lose it all. So we take out insurance policies. You buy insurance or not? Well, some people got more than one insurance. Yeah. We invest in stocks and bonds. Now, please understand, it is wise to do this. Okay, it is not wrong. Okay, it is not wrong. Do this. It's the right thing to do. But Solomon says after what he said, you can build, but it is the Lord who gives success. Now he says, you can stand watch, but it is the Lord who gives security. You can stand watch, but it is the Lord who gives security. Anyone ever visited this great project undertaken by Chinese Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi, right? Can be seen from space, I was told. So why did this emperor build the Great Wall of China? He built it to defend China from outside invaders, specifically the Mongols. The wall is over 4,000 miles long, over 20 feet high, and its width ranges from 12 to 40 feet. That's about as secure you can get. But the Mongols still got in. They still got in. They didn't break the wall. They didn't breach the wall. You know what they did? I scratch your back, you scratch my back. They bribed the guards. They bribed the guards. The Message version says, if God doesn't guard the city, the night watchman might as well nap, might as well go to sleep. When the Lord watches over the city, we sleep well. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. You can sleep well. You can find that in the Psalms. You know, this assurance in God, the security that God gives, that you can sleep well, you can rest. Psalm 3 verse 5, I lie down and sleep, I wake again because the Lord sustains me. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm 4 verse 8. Proverbs 3:24, when you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. And the NASB version, for he gives to his beloved even in his sleep. The Lord provides for us even while we are sleeping. While we are sleeping, God is not. God is working to provide for us. John Piper, in his article, Don't Eat the Bread of Anxious Toil, he said this, God can perform more good for those who trust in him, who trust him while they sleep, than they can perform with anxious labor for themselves while awake. Can you think of a better reason not to rise early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil? My brothers and sisters, build your walls, set your watchmen, but commit your ways to the Lord. Save your money, save for your children's education. Invest in your pension, but do so trusting the Lord. Okay? Do what you have to do. It doesn't mean, Psalm 127 doesn't mean that, God, you do all the building. I goyang kaki, I relax. No, you have to build with God. You have to. You are in a partnership with God. Anyone from Scotland here? No one? Raymond, have you been to Edinburgh? Raymond Uy, not Raymond Tan. Have you been to Edinburgh? Never been. Huh? The city of Edinburgh, the coat of arms of the city of Edinburgh is this. You can see the picture. And the motto is in Latin. Okay? I also know a little bit of Latin. So it says, Nisi Dominus Frustra. Frustra. Nisi Dominus Frustra. What does that mean? Nisi Dominus means without the Lord, without God. Frustra, all is vain. The city fathers of Edinburgh, they knew this principle. Unless God watches over the city, everything they do will be in vain. Any of you ladies from KL, you studied at Bukit Bintang Girls' School, that is also the motto of the school. When we were in Melbourne, I overheard my sister-in-law saying, we're going to go for lunch at the church. Wow. Go for lunch at the church, And so I was thinking, maybe like the seniors, they've got seniors brunch, We went on the day we were leaving for home. And it's actually a church that has been turned into a restaurant. And the name of the restaurant is Harrow and Harvest. It used to be Lilydale Methodist Church. And if you notice, there's actually a display, and it's in a glass. It's displayed. It's a covered display, and there's a Bible there. And guess what? The page of the Bible is turned to Psalm 127. I couldn't believe it. I don't know what happened to Lilydale Methodist Church, but it is now a restaurant. I guess the food there is now better than it was when it was a church. Nisi Dominus Frustra. So for those of us, leaders in the church, will this become a restaurant? Now this is what I believe, okay? This is what I understand. I think what Solomon is saying, that if you want to undertake a project, you undertake this project. Build your family. That is the greatest, most important project you can undertake. Build your family. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. Children are a gift from the Lord. And Solomon makes it clear, they are a heritage, they are a reward from Him. Today's trend, people are choosing to have fewer and fewer children. One enough, two, okay, stop at two. Of course, there are legitimate reasons. I'm not passing judgment on anyone. Please understand me. I'm not, okay? I'm not. Why are you having fewer and fewer children? Is it Do you have a legitimate reason for doing so? And there are legitimate reasons. I think the important thing is to check the motivation. Why? Why? You know, very sadly, children today are seen not as a heritage and a reward from the Lord, but they are seen as a burden. An impediment to happiness. I read this somewhere. A husband was asking the wife, what has happened to our marriage? Why has it lost its sparkle? Why is there no more joy? And the wife's answer, because we had children. Some years ago, Sujan's uncle, now a pastor, he said, have more children, have more children. I said, siao. Children are expensive. And I got a rebuke from him. He said, no, children are not expensive. Lifestyle is. Wow. I got properly rebuked that day. You can trust the rebuke of a friend. Lifestyle is expensive. A rich man said to a poor man who had many children, these children are what make a rich man poor. But the poor man responded, no, these are they which make a poor man rich. For there is not one of these whom we would part with for all your wealth. My wife is giving me a look. Why? Children, now this is biblical. Children provide support and protection to their parents in old age. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court. During Old Testament times, a large family was essential for survival. You need to have a large family. Having many children provided security and protection for the whole family. Why? Because during those times, they faced threats of famine, disease, and war. So having large families was a necessity. Now please, it is not a command. Solomon is not saying have large families. He's not saying that. I don't think he's saying that, okay? And for those of you who have no children, you're single and say, got no children, how? Listen to what Charles Spurgeon said. He said, a quiver may be small, maybe one arrow or two only, okay? A quiver may be small, yet full. And many are blessed who have no quiver at all, okay? Oh, sorry, I forgot to move. Thank you for moving it for me. The important thing is this. It's not to have many children. It is the call to prepare the arrows in the quiver. You have to prepare your children. It is presumptuous to think that having many children will guarantee our security and protection. It's not going to happen unless you do the work. The arrows need to be sharpened. They need to be shaped properly. They need to be honed so that when they fly, they will fly straight and true. How many wives did Solomon have? 300. How many concubines? 700. He must have fathered many children. But how many children of his was mentioned in the Bible? 5, I think. Sing about 5 only. One, Rehoboam. Okay, Rehoboam. Lousy king. Okay. Lousy king. John Piper says the mansion, the house may be smooth, may be completed smoothly. It may be fine and long-lasting. And we in God's providence may be granted to enter and live in it only to find it has become a house of tragedy. A broken marriage, rebellious children, and an abundance of meaningless knickknacks on marble shelves. Emptiness, futility, vanity, because God did not build the house. Solomon says, you will not be put to shame. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court. I think I play a video here to elaborate on this point. Can I have the video, please? I'm sure some of you may have seen it before, okay?
Chả có bộ khoan tiêu đuôi kia.
Ý năng à, nhà bộ yên, nhà最工作，我係查某囝是lawyer嚟哦。
老鄉啊，我都甲你講啊，一個大波一個查某好啊。
你後生安怎？
伊啊，nhà bộ yên誒，伊即個生意啊是做零子，伊等咱嘅政府啊，佫有生意嚟往，美國啊、香港啊，佫有伊本八老德啊。佫有啊，伊啊，等咱媽沙拉買一間新厝。
但係沙拉未歹啊。
好啊，比我會更好。伊是 doctor 嚟嘅，大London啊 ，specialist 啊，係咪啊 ？cardiology， 以前夠攤類嘅。
安尼搞啊？
是咧，你係找安怎？
我特別拍電話伊吼，伊真無閒嘅哦，伊若喺啲會計樓做工吼，伊有淡薄過分啦。真出名嘅會計樓，我都唔知影叫乜名吼。就特別吼，伊一年內面會賺到差唔多450千哦。
是咯，我係驚，伊一斗開刀啊，會賺20千英鎊啊，一日會開2個啊。英啊，英，你會驚咧？
我驚好啊，我驚愛來載我了咯。
載咯？
是咯，真麻煩咯，逐擺去倒落都愛帶我去行哦。
你再隨來哦。
我來了，我驚，你來，我走先啊。
媽好喎。
好啊。
媽，人哋拉人去見馬倫哦。
叫馬倫真靚咧。
Thank you. You get the message? Sure. 我驚，真無用嘅啊！When you have prepared your arrows in the quiver well, when you sit down with your friends and they say, "Oh, I can't. What a joy it would be when you say, 我驚來了. Sorry to those who don't understand Hokkien, but basically, what would the 3 other women give to have their son or daughter come and visit them and take them out? What's 20,000 pounds you earn during one surgery? Vanity, chasing after the wind. Parents, I can tell you this, I used to teach government school. Now I teach international school. Problem the same. The students are deprived of their parents' attention. Is your son and daughter saying, "Why, pa, it's my father is always busy. He doesn't have time for me." An English preacher by the name of Henry Smith, he said this. I think he said something very insightful. For if they, meaning children, be well bred, if they, your children, be well bred, they shoot at their parents' enemies. And if they be evil bred, they shoot at their parents. So parents, bring up your children in the ways of the Lord, or else they will shoot arrows at your heart. They will give you a lot of pain. And of course, sometimes you do all that you need to do, but they still shoot at you, okay? That's a mystery that you need to ask God to clarify when you see Him. But this is a reminder of our responsibility to our parents. We are all children, no matter how old we are. We are all children. We are to honor our father and our mother. So that we may live long and that it may go well with us. Proverbs 23:22, listen to your father. Listen to your father. Josiah, listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. You know, the Bible commands us to look after our parents. I know the challenges we face, but it is our responsibility. I began with a story on the Edison lighthouse. You want to know what happened after the lighthouse came crashing down? They built another lighthouse. 5 years after Henry Winston Lee's lighthouse was destroyed, a new lighthouse was built to replace it. And this lighthouse lasted until the lantern room caught fire, burning the structure to the ground. Second one burned down. And then in 1759, a civil engineer by the name of John Smeaton was hired to build a new lighthouse. And Smeaton modeled his lighthouse in the shape of an oak tree, with the base being larger than the top. The first lighthouse to be designed in this manner. He also pioneered the technique of securing its granite blocks using dovetail joints and marble dowels. In addition, he developed the use of hydraulic lime, a concrete that sets underwater. Consequently, Smeaton's lighthouse outlasted its predecessors and stood for over 100 years. When the need for a new lighthouse arose to replace the lighthouse Smeaton had built, it was due to the erosion of the rock under the tower. Okay? Not because the building was not sound. And there was a need for a larger building to house the latest lighting equipment. It couldn't fit into Smeaton's lighthouse. When the new tower was built beside the old one in 1884, the nearby city of Plymouth had the Smeaton Lighthouse taken down and rebuilt as a memorial on city property. Okay, so that's the lighthouse in the middle. You go to Plymouth, you can see it. The foundation, however, proved too difficult to dismantle, so the stump remained on the reef. So you can see the ugly stump there. Smeaton's lighthouse was sturdier due to Smeaton's engineering genius. But perhaps another clue to its longevity can be found in the upper storage room. And when you visit the lighthouse at Plymouth today, when you look at the top of the room, you will be able to see still an original inscription. And guess what it reads? It is from Psalm 127. Except the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Smith's faith was as important to his success as the solid foundation of his lighthouse. So, my brothers and sisters, Solomon tells us this morning, we can build, but it is the Lord who gives success. We can watch, but it is the Lord who gives security. When we try to build, when we try to watch without the Lord, it will be in vain. Nisi Dominus frustra. Let's pray. Father, we have heard your word, and we know that it is not the hearing, it is not the hearing that brings about the result you desire. It is the doing. So, Father, I pray you take us, lead us into a time of deep searching, reflection. Lord, we are all builders. We build our family, we build our career, we build a name for ourselves. We try to build for the next generation. And Lord, you're not saying we shouldn't build. You're telling us you must be in it. Because unless you are in it, Lord, everything will be in vain. It may not be apparent in the beginning, and we may be thrilled and delighted and enjoy our success. But then, Lord, inside of us, there will be an emptiness, gnawing at our heart, our spirit, our soul, knowing that that's not it. Because, Lord, we cannot fill the emptiness in our heart. We cannot fill it with anything except you, Lord. So today, Lord, help us to respond the way you want us to. As you have spoken to us, Lord, now it's the time for obedience. Help us, Lord. Can we all stand? Let's all stand as we sing the song.